After becoming a superstar for the Dodgers as a result of a connection that saw him drafted in the 62nd round, Mike Piazza would shockingly get traded twice within the span of a week, eventually landing with the Mets, where star power elevated even higher, becoming a franchise player. So let's look at how he ended up on the Mets and his time in New York.
Totally sports-esque. Major League.
Mike Piazza's journey to the majors was nothing short of a miracle, and the most important person in the start of Piazza's career was Tommy Lasorda. His father Vince was good friends with Lasorda, who he grew up with, and this relationship gave Mike opportunities as a teenager. He served as a bat boy in the dugout, and even got to celebrate with the players after they won the pennant in 1977. And this connection was most important as Piazza looked to advance his career. Piazza said that despite being a great hitter in high school, he had trouble being recruited by colleges as he didn't have a real defensive position and ignored his grades. Despite this, the connection with Lasorda gave him the opportunity to play at Miami after Lasorda helped convince coach Ron Frazier, and in his freshman year, he got no playing time. And Lasorda stepped in to help him transfer to the community college, Miami-Dade North, where he would get to play in his sophomore year and hit .364 with 3 home runs and 29 RBIs. There, he played first base, but as he looked to where he was playing next, as Dade North is a 2-year program, Lasorda had Piazza work out as a catcher with a big league coach. And after receiving positive feedback, Lasorda told the Dodgers scouting director, "I want you to do me a favor. I want you to draft Michael Piazza." And so, they did, all the way in the 62nd round. In his 4th season in the minors, he became the organization's top prospect, hitting .350 with 23 home runs and a 1,000 OPS. He made his debut on September 1st, 1992, and went 1 for 3 with a double. He then started 1993 with the Dodgers and went on to have a breakout year, hitting 35 home runs while hitting .318 with a 932 OPS and a 7 WAR, good enough to make the All-Star team and win Rookie of the Year. And over the next 4 seasons, he would emerge as one of the best players in baseball and one of the most marketable. Over those 4 seasons, he hit 132 home runs while hitting .342 with a 999 OPS and a 23.9 WAR with 1994-95 being shortened. He made the All-Star team in all those years, and after finishing second in MVP voting in 1996, he would finish second again in 1997 after becoming the first catcher in MLB history to get 200 hits in a season. And being one of the best players in the league in a huge market, he began to appear everywhere. He was in numerous commercials, and given the time off he had in 1994, this gave him time to appear at award shows and make television appearances, such as the time he appeared in an episode of Baywatch, where he was seen practicing his swing on the beach in full uniform, as most Major League players do. Going into the 1998 season, coming off a year in which the Dodgers finished 2 games out of playoff contention, it was clear that Piazza was the best player on the team. And with this, he asked for a new contract during the offseason before he became eligible for arbitration. Piazza said in his autobiography that the Dodgers felt that he owed them for taking a chance on him and drafting him in the first place, and reminded him as contract negotiations approached, as if to say he's not deserving of an MVP-level contract. Tension spilled into the media after he complained to beat writers and fans and players of then and before turned on him, with Brett Butler calling him a moody, self-centered 90s player. And though he was an incredible hitter, a team couldn't build around him for his lack of leadership. Piazza rejected an offer for $76 million over 6 years after asking for $105 million over 7 years. And with tensions escalating, the Dodgers made the sudden and shocking move to trade him to the Florida Marlins for Bobby Bonilla, Gary Sheffield, Charles Johnson, Manuel Barrios, and Jim Eisenreich. Sports Illustrated would call this the trade of the century. And though the Marlins were defending champions, as they do best, they decided they were done competing after a great season. So with Piazza set to become a free agent, the question was where was he going to go next? And well, he wasn't going to have to wait long to find out. Mike Piazza in a Marlins jersey is a very strange sight, and the main reason for that is because he only played 5 games for the Marlins, and this whole time, there were a number of teams interested in trading for him, including the Rockies, Red Sox, Orioles, and the one that seemed most likely, in the Cubs. But as he was shocked just a week ago, he would be shocked once again when it turned out he was going to the New York Mets. This was a huge move for the Mets, and it was seen in John Franco, the all-time leader in saves in NL history at the time, giving up his number 31 so Piazza could have it. Franco would say, "He's perfect for this city. He's young, single, a billboard kind of guy. Fifth Avenue is going to eat him up. He'll find out that if you're a favorite in New York, the fans will go crazy. It's going to be like when Reggie Jackson came to the Yankees. He's a marquee guy." Bobby Valentine would say that they got instant credibility with the trade, not having a player of that capability in a long time. And with this, They needed to sign Piazza for the long term. During his 137 games in New York in 1998, he had 23 home runs with a .348 average and a 1.024 OPS, making the All-Star team again as the Mets finished 2 games out of first to miss the playoffs. But Piazza found a unique bond with Mets fans. Fans lined up to meet him at the airport and buy tickets to see him. But during the down part of his 1998 season, he was met with boos from Mets fans and constant questions about his future there. The Mets calmed him down by announcing that they wouldn't discuss contract negotiations until the offseason, and after receiving a curtain call in August after a home run, this was a turning point, and he would re-sign with the Mets for 7 years and $91 million, a then Major League record. Through the doubts, he would say, "The more I pondered it, the more I believed that there was a reason I'd been traded to the Mets. I don't really know what the reason was, but I knew I couldn't walk away from it just because New York was difficult. I decided that if the Mets wanted me, and the contract was acceptable, I'd stay." With the newfound pressures of having the largest contract in baseball, Piazza would respond and become one of the greatest players in franchise history. Though his average in OPS would decrease in 1999, he would still set a career high in home runs and RBIs, helping him win his 7th Silver Slugger. And Piazza's efforts would help the Mets make the playoffs for the first time since 1988. The Mets would beat the Diamondbacks in the NLDS, but would lose to the Braves in the NLCS. And the 2000 season will go on to be Piazza's best and most memorable as a member of the Mets. Aside from his play that gave him another All-Star appearance, this season brought a few incidents that made him even more of a fan favorite. And all of those incidents involve Roger Clemens. Clemens was the ace of the team they share a city with, and already to this point, Piazza had great numbers against Clemens. So it wasn't much of a surprise when he hit a grand slam off him in a game at Yankee Stadium in June. But it was surprising a month later when the Mets and Yankees faced again, and Clemens would concuss Piazza with a pitch, forcing him to miss the All-Star game. Clemens claims it wasn't intentional, but this only grew the rivalry and put Piazza on a higher pedestal amongst Mets fans. And he finished the season with 38 home runs while hitting .324 with a 1.012 OPS. Good enough to finish 3rd in MVP voting, marking his 3rd top 3 finish in MVP voting. And it went a long way in helping the Mets make the playoffs for the 2nd straight year. They beat the Giants in 4 in the NLDS, then in the NLCS against the Cardinals. Piazza hit .412 with 2 home runs in 5 games to help the Mets win their first pennant since 1986. And they were set up to face their crosstown rivals in the Yankees, who were looking to three-peat. The Yankees took Game 1, and Game 2 brought the most infamous moment of Piazza's career. The Clemens-Piazza rivalry reached its apex in the first inning, when Clemens broke Piazza's bat on an inside pitch, and a part of the bat went in Clemens' direction, so he picked it up and chucked it right at Piazza, saying he thought it was the ball because that makes total sense. Benches cleared as a result, but as usual, only loud words were exchanged, though Clemens clearly looks worse in all this. And the last saga between these two came in the 2004 All-Star game, when Piazza caught for Clemens. And well, Clemens gave up 6 runs, and who knows how much Piazza secretly enjoyed this, as he may or may not have given all the signs away. Either way, Piazza would hit 2 home runs in the series, and in the bottom of the 9th in Game 5, it looked like he had his 3rd and the game-tying home run, but it was caught at the wall, giving the Yankees the Subway Series and their 4th title in 5 years. 2001 would be the last year that Piazza would receive MVP votes after hitting 36 home runs with a .300 average and a .957 OPS. The Mets would not make the playoffs after finishing 6 games out, but 2001 brought the iconic moment of Piazza's career. After 9/11, baseball and all sports in America were put on hold, and the first major sporting event held in New York took place on the 21st at Shea Stadium as the Mets took on the Braves. It was an emotional night with a full crowd who was subjected to extra security, and the Braves scored first in the 4th, though the Mets tied things in the bottom half. The Braves retook the lead in the 8th, but the Mets showed signs of life after a 1-out walk, and Piazza stepped up to the plate with the crowd ready to explode. And in a game that Piazza believed they had to win, he had his moment by driving the second pitch of the at-bat over the center field fence, sending the emotional fans into a frenzy. Piazza said on this moment, "I caught that fastball with the full force of my emotional rush. When he cleared the fence just left of center and caromed off a distant TV camera, I thought the stadium would crumble into rubble." The home run would reach legendary status, cementing Piazza as a Mets legend. It was such a powerful moment that fans ranked it as the 2nd greatest moment in the history of Shea Stadium, behind their 1986 World Series clinch and ahead of their 1969 World Series clinch. Piazza would go on to play 4 more seasons in New York, making the All-Star team in all of those years, except in an injury-shortened 2003. He had 83 home runs in this time, including his 353rd, which put him past Carlton Fisk for the most by a catcher. In his final game in New York in 2005, he was taken out early and given a standing ovation by the fans. Piazza would play for the Padres in 2006, and after hitting a home run against Pedro Martinez and Shea in August, he received the very rare curtain call from an opposing crowd. He would play one final season with the A's in 2007 before announcing his retirement. Despite playing for 5 different teams, the Mets became the team most synonymous with Mike Piazza, and it's seen in the fact that 7 years after throwing out the first ever first pitch at Citi Field, he would get inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in his 4th ballot, wearing a Mets hat on his plaque. And considering this is where he had his most iconic moments, and became a franchise icon, then it makes sense. And it was here where he continued his marketability, as he had in LA. He had numerous endorsements, and even appeared in movies while in New York. There were estimates that he made upwards of $10 million in endorsements a year. For reference, Bryce Harper earned the second most in endorsements this year at $7 million. So financially, the trade that ended with him being traded for the second time in a week paid off. And none of this would have happened without the team that took a chance on him, thanks in main part to his father's relationship with Tommy Lasorda. And it ended up being the greatest late-round pick in maybe all of sports, considering it was in the 62nd round. And the Dodgers not being able to keep him in the long term came in part to them taking a chance on him. And after spending just 1 week as a Marlin, he became one of the greatest slices of Piazza New York has ever received.
Ha ha!